Illinois' eviction moratorium is in place for one more month, but many residents still fear they'll be out of a home once that ban lifts. And now animal shelters are preparing for what could be an influx of pets that need a home too. This as some shelters are already seeing an uptick from COVID-19. And joining us to discuss what the end of the eviction moratorium could mean for pets is Tracy Elliott, President and CEO of the Anti-Cruelty Society. Tracy Elliott, welcome to Chicago Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so whenever the moratorium on evictions lifts, and assuming there are a lot of evictions, what could that mean for pets and for shelters?
Well, housing is the number one reason people surrender their animals to us in the first place, and that's notwithstanding COVID and the economic problems that have come with that. So it is possible in the worst case scenario that a lot of people are going to lose their housing and have a difficult time finding pet-friendly housing to move into, so that our shelter and others in the region may be inundated with surrenders. And we're very much hoping that doesn't happen. And we are geared towards working very hard on prevention programs to make sure that that does not occur and that we can keep families whole.
All right,
But
so
it could occur.
what are those prevention programs, assuming that some families maybe are temporarily out of a home, but they don't want to lose their pets?
Right. That's a very good question. So we have a program called Short-Term Accommodations for Emergencies, or the SAFE program, which will take your animal in if you are in one of those emergencies, maybe a domestic violence situation, or you're hospitalized and don't have family to take care of it, or you are temporarily looking for new housing that is pet friendly. We can take the animal in for 45 days and care for it. And we have seen an uptick in that program just recently. We have about 40 animals in that program right now, but we're prepared for more. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you what the overall situation is in terms of how many animals you're caring for right now versus, a typical summer.
It's not really unusual right now. We have about 415 animals in the shelter and about 165 in foster. That's pretty typical for this time of year. We are back to most of our volume in terms of intake, adoption, and other programs are back to 2019 levels. Comparing them to the 2020 doesn't really work because everything was so suppressed, except for foster. We had more foster parents than ever last year. So we're kind of back to quote unquote normal, but we're preparing for potentially a greater influx because of this. So another way that we've stepped up to help is a lot of times folks find pet-friendly housing, but the landlord requires a pet deposit and they can't afford it because it's a lot of cash out of your pocket to do a security deposit, perhaps moving costs, and then to pay a pet deposit on top of that. So we have developed a program where we can subsidize a pet deposit at $250 to help folks who are in those situations as well.
Certainly a barrier. Another barrier might be folks thinking, well, I'm going back to work now and I don't have time to stay at home and care for a pet. What about that?
Well, we haven't seen much of that. Our surrender numbers are actually no worse than they were in 2019 pre-COVID. So we're not seeing that. However, we do understand that some people are going to face that situation, and where we can help is we have a behavior helpline. So if you want to know, how do I, get my animal ready for me to be out of the house more often, the behavior helpline can help with that.
And the other aspect of that is, people might be hesitant to adopt because they're working and they're thinking, I just don't have the time. Is that where fostering comes in?
Yes, that's a good substitute. Obviously, a foster animal still requires full attention and care, but it isn't a permanent commitment. Of course, neither is adoption. We always tell people, if it doesn't, we want it to be a perfect match. If it's not, bring the animal back to us and we'll find a perfect match for it. We do not look upon that as a negative thing at all. It's actually a positive thing. But in fostering, yes, you have a limited period of time when you're with the animal, and when the animal's ready to get back to the adoption floor, or even a direct adoption from foster, you could be relieved of that responsibility and still have had the joy of helping an animal get ready to find its forever home.
A lot of things to think about. All right, Tracy Elliott, those pictures of dogs and cats, they certainly are tempting for those of us that don't have any and might want to adopt one. All right, thank you so much.
Right. Thank you.